Hi, Hannah Nandor here. In this video, we are going to look at how you choose what type of material to add into Schoology and how to add those different materials, as well as some pros and cons as to why you might want to choose one type over another. So I'm going to make my little video go away, and there we go. Okay, so we are back in my test course. So I've got a couple of my units for chemistry already in here. When you go to add materials, there are two ways to add materials. You can click the add materials button, pretty straightforward, and then it gives you the whole list of things that you can add. You might also notice that if I hover between these two, I get this green dotted line and a green plus sign, and you can always click that and you'll automatically get the add materials drop down list there. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to scroll back up here to the top and I'm going to click my green plus and I'm going to go ahead and add a folder here. When you add a folder, you have lots of different options. So you can title the folder whatever you want. I'm going to title this class resources. You can pick whatever color you want the folder to be. I'm going to pick green because I like the green. You can type in any sort of description that you wish. You've got all your standard formatting tools, so bullets, numbers. You can change text color. You can do all sorts of formatting here. You can even insert content. So here's where you want to insert. You can insert an image, either attach it, or you can search a link from the web. Link, symbol, equation, you can insert something from Google Drive, which I'm going to talk about in a different video. So you can use all kinds of different formatting stuff. And so I'm going to type in the description here. This folder contains general resources that you might need throughout the course. Down here under date, so this is where you can choose when it appears to students. So published means it's available right now. Anybody in the course can see it. Unpublished means it's hidden, so you can still work with it. You will see it as the teacher, but a person enrolled as a student in your course won't be able to see it yet. Publish on start date, so you can, this is a good way if you don't want students to access it right away, but you want to build stuff in the course. You can tell it when to go live. So say this is something that I don't want them to have access to until second quarter. And so second quarter is going to be somewhere around there. So it'll publish on that date, which means it'll automatically appear. So however it's set up, it will just automatically show up for your students. You can also give it a range, which means it will automatically go away after a certain point. So again, same thing, you can pick a date and it will be available between those dates. You can even get as specific as you can put a time on it if you want. And so that's really nice for things to appear and disappear without you having to remember to go in and click publish. It will do it on its own. I'm going to go ahead and make this one public. So I'm going to take everything out. I'm just going to say it's available right now. Then I hit create and there it is. Okay, so when I open that folder, let's put in some test materials. So there are lots of different options that you can put in, and what you put in depends on how you want your students to interact with it. The main ones that you are most likely to use are assignment, test quiz, file link external tool, discussion, and page. A media album is like a photos album that you might see on Facebook. So that's where I've used this for if we've done something in class and I want to take pictures of students' whiteboards or their posters or whatever they've made and share them with the rest of the students. I'll make a media album so that they can see all those pictures. You can set it so that students and or instructors can add materials. So you can even make it a collaborative media album if you wish. But that works just like some sort of photo album, or you can upload videos and stuff that you might see on a social media type site. Let's just go down these one by one. So we'll start with add assignment. So add assignment gives you the opportunity to allow students to turn something in. So what you're going to put up here is the name. So you're going to title the assignment. So we're going to say test assignment. You get pretty much all of the same editing features that we did with the folder. So you can do all the formatting, bullets, numbers. You can insert a link. You can embed content. You can put in a table. Tables in Schoology are really kind of obnoxious. If you want to put a table in, like a calendar or something, I highly recommend you do it in Word or Google Docs and then copy it over. That's my personal preference. I found the Schoology setup for that to be pretty obnoxious. It does do spell check, which is awesome. It has kind of some preset paragraph styles. You can change the font, all kinds of stuff. Down here is where you can attach a file. You can attach a link. You can attach something from your resources. So if you save something from a previous year, you can attach it. So attachments show up as links that they can click on below any sort of text. So here, this is a practice assignment. So they'll see that as the text, and then you can put in, you can attach a file underneath. So that's where they'd click on the link and they would get to that. So you can attach different types of recordings, external tools. So those are things from websites, all kinds of things that you can attach and embed. You can also assign from Google Drive. This is not something that I am an expert in. There are other people in our building who I know have used this a lot. I am just not one of those people. I think that's all I'm going to say about that. Yes, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that to people who know more about Google Drive assignments than I do. You can put in a due date. You can assign it however many points you want it to be. You can choose what category, grading category you want it to go into. Here's if you find yourself needing to make a new grading category, you can set that here. Grading period, factor, so if you want it to weight more or less, default is 1. If you want to change the grading scale, you can change the grading scale. So you can adjust that. You can also attach a rubric. I'm going to talk about rubrics in a different video, but you can attach a rubric to that as well. You can align it to specific learning objectives. You can do all kinds of things. These options down here, so you can individually assign this to a certain student if you would like to. You can lock the assignment. You can choose whether or not you want to enable student submissions. So if right now students can submit things, and you could also turn it to where they can't submit things. Take some of those things out. Published, which is whether they can see it or not. Grading statistics, so if they want to be able to see the breakdown of the scores. Comments are whether or not students can comment on it. Copy to courses are if you make it and then you want to copy it to another course. You can do all of that from right here. So we're going to hit create. Forgot to pick a grading category. In grading category, you can also make it as ungraded, depending on what you want it to do. So if it's something that you want, so it's not going to put it into the grade book, and but it still allows you to have students to turn it in and see their work. Again, all depends on the purpose. So when they go and open test assignment, so they'll see any text, any instructions here, they'll see any attachments that they might need to click on. Over here at the right, you can see whether anybody has submitted it, and that's also where you'll be able to click on things if you need to go grade them as well. If you want students to be able to see or view a document or go somewhere but not necessarily turn it in, you'd use something called add page. So add page gives you pretty much all of the exact same editing options. You'll notice that this box here looks the exact same. It's got all the same editing features. You can attach all the same things. You can align it, but there's none of the grading pieces. So a student can't turn something in for a page. I like using pages for things like directions or more resources if I want to give them links to videos, but I don't actually expect them to turn anything in. I like using a page to organize all of that. One of the differences with pages here is whether it's display on a new page or display inline. So inline means that it will show already in the page when they open it up. So we're going to call this test page, and we'll do this inline, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this really big just so that we can see what that looks like. So right now, this button's clicked, so it's going to display inline, which means on the page, I'm going to see whatever I've typed in here. And that will continue for as long as, so here's more text, text, and even more stuff to read. So that's how you get something that's really long. I can show you here in one of my courses. I like using inline stuff for things like this homepage. So they automatically see the calendar, the things that I've embedded there. I also like it if you go into my weeks, that's where I put the objectives so that it's obvious. They can click on it and go to that page if they want, but they don't have to. It's already there, it's already laid out. I like it if there's directions for the whole folder. So where I've kind of outlined, these are the things in this folder. That's what I like to use inline pages for. I like to use non-inline pages or open on a different page for something that I want them to actually click on. I use this for stuff that it might be kind of long. So for example, here's a page that I have that has a bunch of instructional videos on it. So these are embedded from YouTube. So it's kind of long. It's actually really long. And I don't want that to display inline for all my students because I can show you what that looks like. So here's what it looks like when you embed it. Embedding things look a little weird, so it does require you to keep track of stuff a little bit. So if I change this, right now it's in display on new page, so they have to click it to be able to see it. If you do display inline and then save, I'll show you what that looks like once we go back. So we see the directions, we see the things before it, and then before they get to the next item, they see all the videos. So this might be good if you only have one video. It's really obnoxious if there's a lot. So that's something to keep in mind, keep in mind that there are pros and cons to using inline. It all depends on how you want your students to interact with that object or that material. So I'm going to take that back out so that I don't forget. So now you'll see it goes back and they have to click on it to get to the separate page. It also works really well for giving instructions. So you can embed a link and then you can give instructions. Down here at the bottom, I have a PDF embedded so they can see all of those on one spot. So that's the benefit of Pages. I'm a big fan of Pages this year. It's a really good way, even if it's a really good way to give directions to something instead of just uploading a random PDF. It's a really good way to put on there and make it really obvious to students what they're supposed to do with that document. Okay, other assignment or other materials you can add. So you can add test quiz, which Julie Gassler has a video going over how to build tests and quizzes. So I'm not going to worry about that here. Add assessment is a different tool that Schoology offers. This is not a tool that I am an expert in. If I'm doing an assessment, I always use test quiz and not the assessment. I do know the assessment offers different question types. Again, I am not an expert in that. And I cannot off the top of my head think of who might be, but I would think that our media specialist would be able to help you find somebody who is an expert at that if that's something you're interested in. Add file, link, or external tool. This is really good if you just want to drop in a document. Again, if it's a document that they might need some directions with, I would highly suggest you consider using a page to put some instructions with it. But if it's just a document that they need, you can go in and you can attach a document. Now, when you do this, my default is always to upload PDFs. So if you upload Word documents, it's not going to guarantee that your formatting is locked in, and it might look really weird from the student side. So my kind of rule of thumb is if you're going to share a document, save it as a PDF and share the PDF. Students can write on PDFs, and there are several different ways that they can write on PDFs, but that is kind of my default. You can rename it by hitting details. If you accidentally click the wrong thing, all you have to do is click the X and you can remove it. But you can attach any kind of file to in Schoology. It's going to upload the straight file. So you click on the file and then it takes you to whatever that document is. Same things here, you can individually assign. So if you want to send something out to a specific student or group of students, publish or unpublish, copy to courses. You can also put links in. So this is where you can put in an embed code for a different website, or you can just put in the URL. Some things will automatically populate a title, some things will not. You can align it to learning objectives. Same things here. You can display in a new window or display in line, just like with the page. So it does the same thing. Like, do you want it to show up on the page, or do you want them to have to click on it and open in a new window? Publish or unpublished, copy to courses. So this is a really good way to take students somewhere. Again, if it needs some sort of instruction with it, especially if you're running things kind of asynchronously, if you need to give your students instructions, I would put it in as a page, because you can put a link or you can embed stuff into a page that you can then give instructions before that. And I believe Julie has a video on how to embed websites and videos into different things. External tools is not something that I have a lot of experience with, but you can, actually don't have any experience with it, but you can embed, it looks like here, from OneNote, class notebooks. You can put the URL in. Again, this is not something I have ever used. I've only ever used links or files in terms of this particular option. And then discussion boards. So discussion boards are a good way to get, I don't know what that is, that's nonsense, to get students to discuss in person or on, that's really weird, on Schoology. And so you can type in, we're going to say, we'll just call this gas demos because that was one. Again, you get all of the same formatting stuff that you get from your other things. So you can embed videos into your discussion. You can give them a link. You might have seen this with some of our battle videos, that there were some instructions and then there was a link to a video. You can embed the video itself. If you don't want to give a link, you can attach files. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can enable grading on a discussion board or not. It depends on what you want to do as a teacher. So if you want to grade it, you give it a category, you give it a scale or a rubric, you tell it how many points, you give it a due date, all that good stuff. You can align it to learning objectives, just like everything else. You can individually assign, you can lock it, publish or not publish. This one I think is really important. This is where you can set it so that students can or cannot see other people's posts. So if it's clicked, so if you see the little stoplight, that means when a student goes to post, they have to post their initial comment before they'll see anybody else's. So even if they're the last person to comment, they're not going to see anybody else's posts before they post their own. So depending on the purpose of your discussion board, you may want that or not want that enabled. On our battle discussion boards, this was not enabled because it was nice that we could see what other questions other people had asked before posting our own. But if you're asking students to think about a question, you might want them to post before they can see others' responses. So that's what that one is for. You can share a discussion between different courses. I have never done that, but you can. And then you can also copy to a course. So when you create a discussion board, and you go and open that up, you as a teacher can also write a comment. So that is a situation that could be good if you want to give kind of like a right answer or a key. You could, if it's set so that students won't see any post that includes yours, so you can share that so that the students post their response and then they can see yours and they can see other people's as well. And then once there are posts to the discussion, you can sort them by students, you can sort them by by like the time. It will highlight the ones that are new since you last looked at it. So those are good ways for students to collaborate. We did that. Add package. I've actually never done add package, but this would be zip files. And so you can't edit some of those things. but that is something, if you know more about how to do that and you have those materials, you can look into that. You can also always import from resources. So if you have something built in a different spot and you have it saved to your resources, you can go and you can always import. So say I wanted to import my honors final exam from last year, I saved that in my resources, so I can just go grab it, I can import it, and then it'll give me some advanced options to change some settings. And then I just hit import, and it's going to go pull that from my resources and drop it down to the bottom. If you go from the add materials and you do it from the drop down menu, it's always going to drop it to the end of your list. However, you can just drag and drop if you want to reorder it. If you know where you want it to go and you don't want to mess with that, you can just click the plus button and it'll drop in that material right wherever you put it. But that's an easy way to reorder things, is you can just drag and drop. So I think that goes through most of the resources. There's also some here. We have the CK12 app, which has kind of some pre-built resources for teachers. I have looked at this a little bit, but I haven't actually used any of it. But you can go and they have some pre-built lessons if you are interested in those things. You can go grab items from CK12. But again, that's something I've looked at a little bit but have not explored in depth. But I'm pretty sure that goes through all of our different materials. If you want to talk about which one you think is going to be better for a particular document or assignment or things that you want students to do, feel free to ask, and I'm more than happy to walk through some thought process. The big thing that I would keep in mind is, what do you want students to do with that document or that item? Do you want them to be able to turn it in? Do you just want them to be able to go do it? What is the purpose? How do you want them to interact? That's going to tell you what type of material you're going to add. But I think that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.